Okay, for our second video, what we're going to need to do is either navigate to the terminal window or use the browser if you want to do that. I'm going to do it all in the terminal window because, as you will see, it's a whole lot easier, especially in the Mac, to do this all in the terminal window. So what we need to do is we need to find our code. I happen to know where I've stored my code. It's in my repositories, Space Settlers. And if you go there and you just look, that's all the code we've downloaded. Well, you had to make your code in a directory called source and then your 4x4. Again, I used Amy. And in there, we have our example client. I have a bunch of other clients in there too, because clearly I've got clients for other projects. But for this one, we're just looking at that word, Amy's random client. We're going to need to turn that in. Before we turn that in, the other thing we need is we need a copy of our config file. So I'm going to copy that config file from the directory where we made copy config and then heuristic cooperative, and then we called it Amy's client init. And the way that our script that handles the files expects them to be named, it needs to be named something called space settlers init.xml. We want to copy that to this directory. Okay, so that's done. There's my space settlers init.xml and my Amy's random client. And now I'm going to copy them up to my account on spacesettlers.cs.ou.edu, which is the thing you made an account on before. So I'm going to use SCP. If you're doing this on Windows, you might end up doing this using PuTTY, but you need to do a secure copy. I'm going to do an SCP of Amy's random client and spacesettlers.init.xml to Amy at spacesettlers.cs.ou.edu : Remember to put the colon in there, because if you don't, you're just going to name it, copy it to a file named that. I've already enabled passwordless SSH, so it just copied them up. And now I'm going to show you how to turn them in. So first, I need to SSH into that machine. So my username happens to be the same, so I can just SSH in. If I do an ls, you can see my two things there. The Space Settler scripts you can ignore. That was how I was actually setting up all the accounts. That's why I have an account on there already. I am going to, just so that it's easy for me to keep it straight, I'm going to move my files into a project 0. So I'm gonna, but you don't have to do that. It's just easier for me to keep it straight that way. Okay, I'm going to go into project 0. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to submit these two things. And the way that we're going to do that is that we could, if you just want to see that the submit command is working, you could just type in the home spacewar bin submit -h. It'll give you help. If we want to actually submit it, we need to put in what was in the web page. So the command that was in the web page included my Java file name, and so I changed it to say Amy's random client. And otherwise, it's exactly the same command. You should change it to match whatever your name is. It's going to tell you who you are, and it's going to tell you success. If you get failure, it means something's wrong, that your code didn't compile for some reason. If you get this, you have success, and you're done with Project 0 Part 2. If you don't get this and you get stuck, then feel free to ask for help in the Slack. Thank you.